everybody, Boone Wyatt with the 323 Concept Furniture Restoration here. You are watching the 323 vlog, and thank you so much for tuning in and watching today's video. Today we are looking at a leather repair. I don't think I've done any videos on this, and they're not super frequent in my business. They probably could be if I took on more. I've recently started acquiring some of the supplies to do so, but I used to do a lot of these repairs for my day job at my old job. And so I thought I'd do a video on it and show y'all. I see that they're sort of intriguing to people, and it's sort of an interesting process. So without further ado, let's jump right in and we'll sort of see how we go about repairing a leather issue, and we'll sort of jump into what exactly the issue is and how we go about repairing that. The issue we're having today is the leather is peeling on the headrest area, which is real common on manufacturers. Unfortunately, a lot of the manufacturers use leather that's not the best quality, so it starts peeling over time. And it especially is caused by chemicals that you put in your hair. I've seen it on armrests, I've seen it on armrests when somebody uses maybe like bug spray or icy hot. Chemicals basically in general tend to have bad reactions on some of the lesser quality leather that is sold very frequently. So it's peeling on the headrest on this one. So the first step I wanted to do is get a leather grain created from this leather. What does that mean exactly? When I get into repairing the leather, I'm going to apply this compound. It's called a heat cure compound, and it's a liquid. When we heat it up with our heat gun, it starts to dry, it starts to solidify, and as it's doing that, we press a leather grain down into the repair area, and that puts the grain of your leather into the repair area. So I made this. I'll show you the one. This is some of the leather grain mold compound that I poured on that one, but this is what it looks like. See that leather grain in there? I created that with this grain compound. This is just a liquid inside here. You pour it in a little 2-ounce cup, and this is the catalyst. You just put about 6 drops of that catalyst in here, mix it all up real good, and then you pour it on whichever leather material you're working with. And it didn't say dry time on the bottle, but I let mine sit overnight. It's plenty dry today. And it's like almost like a silicone-based grain mold now. And like I said, once I start doing the repair, and you'll see this, I'll start letting it, I'll heat it up, it'll start solidifying. We'll press this down into the leather where we're working, and it'll put that leather grain in there, and that helps it blend and match. So I wanted to preface the video by showing you that, telling you about that. That way you understand what this is when I go in to do that. So here is the one I made for this one. And this leather specifically has a very subtle grain. You could barely even see it. But depending on the leather that you're working with, yours may have quite a bit grain. And you want to get one that matches, otherwise it may stick out like a sore thumb when you get ready to repair it. So without further ado, let's pull this over, flip this over, and as you see, this is our area that we're going to be repairing. So usually what I like to do is sand it down, try to get rid of all the big ridges, get all the loose material out of the way. This is just a 220 grit, so you don't need anything real abrasive, but you also want something that's gonna be effective and get rid of all these loose particles. Sometimes heating that up with a heat gun as well sort of helps lay it down and flatten it out. It'll shrink and shrivel, that kind of thing. But I usually like to just sand it off, get it out of the way. I don't want to be dealing with that as I'm repairing it. Let's jump into the next step. We've got about as much removed as we can with our sandpaper. Next, we're going to jump into the actual repair portion, where we apply this heat cure compound over the top of the surface here. And I'll use a little metal spatula, you'll see here in just a moment, and smooth it out over the top, and we'll heat it up and then put our grain mold into it to blend it in. So let's jump into that. Okay, so we are ready to tackle this repair. So a few things that I have here. This is my heat cure compound is what it's called. And I'll put the description in the notes of my video so you can find these products. Mohawk is the company that I use to purchase these products, and they're always identified by, see if we can get that in there. It's probably too small to zoom in on there, but it's a number such as M8726802. Mohawk identifies all their products with numbers like that, so it's real easy to locate them. You can go to a Mohawk website. There's usually 2 or 3 on there that are real easy to find, and you can search by those numbers and find them. But I'll also put links in the description of my video where you can find the products. If they have it on Amazon, I'll post a link directly to get it through Amazon. If not, then I'll see if I can't find the link to these websites and where to find these. So, but we're starting with the heat cure compound, and it's just material looks like this. I'm trying to describe how to describe it. It's pretty thick. It's almost like a peanut butter consistency. And then what we're gonna use to apply and spread it is, they call these spatulas. This is also a Mohawk tool. I'll put that in the video. And so we'll apply the heat cure compound with the spatula, and then you'll need a heat gun. Very carefully, you don't want to burn the leather material as you're heating it up, so constantly keeping it moving, maybe in a circular motion, try to mix it up a little bit. And what's important is, don't try to tackle, if you have a bigger spot like this is roughly almost 6 inches by 4 inches, or 4 inch by 4 inch, and anyways, try to work on just one little area at a time, and then you can sort of, like, I'll probably split this into 2 or 3 different little areas to repair it and go from there. So we'll get the repair done, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but once we get just the consistency of the leather back onto the headrest, we'll have to go back in and do touch-ups, which I'll show you that at the end, okay? And it's always better to do lighter coats. You don't want to try to do it all in one pass. So nice thin coats. And I usually like to work this excess moisture, the excess liquid outside of the repair, and just try to feather it out a little bit. Try to blend it out just a little bit. You can really lightly use your finger, but the thing is, you don't want fingerprints all over it. So, you know, just very lightly. You might even be able to use your mold compound a little bit. But I'm trying to keep it real minimal outside of the actual damaged area, if I can. So it's not a huge deal if you get it outside of that. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with a real small area just to get started. Turn my heat gun on. It takes just a few seconds to heat up. So when you start heating this up, as you'll notice, when I get heating it up, you'll start noticing, hopefully it shows up on video, but it looks wet right now. When I start heating it up, it starts to solidify, and you can tell it's just as if anything's drying out. You'll see that it starts looking dry, and that's when I go in with my grain mold to get the texture. Okay. There we go. I had just a couple loose edges going around the edge here, and I forgot to say you can heat those up and just sort of press your grain mold in. That sort of helps those to lay down flat before you put your compound over it. Okay, so let's do another round. I'm doing pretty small areas today. Sometimes if I have a bigger grain mold, I can do a little bit more, but I'm working pretty small today. All right, so I had a little bit of video technical difficulties when I was shooting that last shot of laying down the coloring, but where I left off was we were putting the grain mold down onto the heat cure compound as it was drying up. So we pretty much just do that all the way around, light coats, until you get it where you like it. So once you complete that, you can start laying down the Mohawk Leather Repair aerosols. So they make them in 3 different styles. There's a base coat, there's a toner, and there's a color adjuster. The base coats are going to be your heavier spray, opaque. You know, it's a very solid base coat, as it sounds. So you lay those down first. So as you see on this recliner, it had a really strong brown undercoating with just a really light black toner over the top. So, and you'll see that a lot on modern furniture, almost a two-tone look. So they have so many different colors. I can't really, you know, market the coloring. Just go on there, sort of see what colors they've got. You might even touch base with them and say, send them a picture of what you got, and they might be able to recommend some colorings that work for you. And then, you know, they might be able to recommend which type of base coat or toner or color adjuster you might need for your specific project. As you all know, there's going to be dozens of different colorings and options there. So, but basically all I did on mine was lay down a burnt umber base coat and then a black toner over the top, and you know, we called it good. So I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope it brought value to and was what you were looking for as far as leather repair. There's a lot of different scenarios and situations, so if you got a question about yours, feel free to reach out, let us know. I'd be happy to try to help you if we can. Feel free to comment below and we'll talk to you there. If y'all want to see future videos, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. and that'll ensure that you get updates to our future videos, and we hope to see y'all in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next time. Later.